Happy Friday. You know what? I'm really excited for this one. Really happy we can finally make this work. Been kind of going back and forth with Dan, trying to find a day that would work for both of us. Really, really happy we finally have one. If you guys aren't aware, guest tonight is Dan from Big D. You know what? Instead of me just rambling on, I'm going to run the intro and we're just going to get right into it. It's Friday night, so you know what that means. There we are. How's it going, man? Oh, I think we might be having some buffering issues right off the hop. Okay, not too sure what's going on. Dan, you have your mic muted somehow? Whoop. We have some buffering issues, so we'll have to get that figured out. Anyway, while we do that, big thanks to D, who is in the chat, for both the proper countdown, finally all put together into one fluid video, and then the new actual intro. Both amazing. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I think we might be having some connection issues. Of course. we tried it out earlier, guys, and everything was going good, so I'm not too sure what's happening right now. I guess we're just gonna have to sit tight here. Dan, I don't know if maybe you could, if you can hear me, if you could try jumping out of the StreamYard and then following the link back in. I know everybody's very excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Can you? Okay. Is it on my end that it's kind of like choppy, or
I think
is
so.
it?
I think it's your end.
Well, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, so I think what's happening, guys, is I think his thing's catching up. Dan, I don't know. Do you want to maybe try and jump out and jump back in? I think there's just some connection issues on your end.
Well, here, let me.
Okay, hopefully this works. I'm actually really, really excited to talk to Dan. One of the big reasons I want to have him on is that the guy makes obviously some absolutely incredible stuff. But another reason is him and I have never really had too long of a conversation. Obviously, we've conversed a couple times in passing, and then we'll try and go arrange this. But no, he's always seemed like a really, really cool guy, and just the animals he's making are some of the coolest things in Canada. So yeah, let's hope he joins back in soon. I'm just going to prioritize my device on my internet because I'm dumb and I forgot to do that. You guys, if anybody has any questions, now's the time to drop them. You can populate as many as you want. This is going to be great. There we go. Cool. All right, we should be good on my end. Now we just got to wait for Dan to come back. But if anybody has any questions, what have you, while we're waiting, I might as well just touch on something that's stupidly obvious. Yeah, our Instagram got taken down again. That sucks. Oh, he's back. Is it going to work this time? Are we good? Can you hear me?
Well, can you hear me now?
I can. I think you might just be getting my video a bit delayed. Gonna throw this up in the meantime. Yeah, I think it might be your internet, Dan.
Yeah, but I don't know if the problem. No. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of what we might be able to do here. Are you on a wired connection or are you on Wi-Fi?
Well, it could be. I mean, like it's out free, and we have limited. So it's like hit and miss at a time, and I have to. We do towers, so and right now it's supper time, and all the kids are home, and
everybody's just sucking up the bandwidth, eh?
Hold on. So
Cat's chiming in here trying to help us. Sorry, everybody. We will try to get this figured out. That's for sure.
Well,
I can hear you now, and I think it's the time.
Jared. It's the internet is slow. Okay. Yes, I mean, yeah.
So I'm realizing something right now.
Like you're lagging behind, so it's slow. Like I said, it's unfortunately times during this, it's sort of a.
Let's see if that helps any.
Okay, well that's better.
Well, you responded to me right away, so that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I think something fixed it. Good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough. All right, Dan. That was a real long intro.
I don't know if it did.
Yeah, it's still delayed, unfortunately. I can hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure what you can do here. Can you, are you on a laptop or a desktop?
I'm on a lot. Maybe I go down to my son's computer. He is.
We can give it a try. Unfortunately, Kat.
Did you hear what I said? No.
I heard that you're on a laptop. I'm just gonna message you, Dan. One sec.
Yeah, but I mean, I can go downstairs to his computer, be logged in.
All right, I just sent you a message. Hopefully, hopefully you got that. Oh, the delay is getting less. We'll get it figured out, guys. I know it's a bit of a slow start, and I apologize. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. All right, Dan is going to see if a different computer will work a little better. Maybe I don't know if he's too far from the router. Not too sure, but anyway, what I was getting into before Dan tried to come back anyway was, yeah, our Instagram got taken down for a second time. Don't understand why. It sucked. I found out yesterday about 7:30 at night, and this will probably be a topic for another, like the next psych ward thing, but it put me into probably one of the worst places I've been in a long time. Not just because I lost an Instagram account. That seems kind of silly, but it's more just everything, losing it, getting it back, losing it again. It just feels like no matter what we do, there's no way to get ahead. And the funniest thing is, and Dan, if you're watching this, feel free to take your time, man. Everybody wants to hear what you have to say, so take your time, buddy. It just, I don't know. There's going to be weird things in this hobby and in anything in life that are going to hit you real fucking weird. And yesterday was the first time in a long time that I've considered just checking out from doing this, and I'm not. I'm here to stay. But man, everybody's gonna have one of those days now and again. So, you know, it's all about how you pick yourself up and dust yourself off. Not quite dusted off yet. Was a little hungover this morning. Just going right back to it. But yeah, no, it's been a roller coaster of a week so far. Yeah. Anyway, I'm really hoping Dan comes back because I'm just getting way too deep now. If anybody here actually has any questions that I can answer while we're waiting for Dan, feel free to ask. We just do like a little Q&A while we're waiting. Yeah. I can't. God, don't. I like it so much. Oops. Yeah. I fully believe. I don't think it's one person. I think it may be a group of people. I think it's probably the same group of people that that went after Billy's account. The thing that sucks the most is there's not a single thing on my page that could even be misconstrued as against any rule that Instagram has for posting content. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to see a computer program that isn't even actually manned by humans, essentially. Like, I'm sure there's a couple somewhere. For the most part, it's totally automated. It's really tough to see that destroy everything you've worked on. It's tough. But so this is all just, I don't want to say conjecture, but at this point, it's there's a new animal protection group up here in Canada, and apparently, just like exotic birds and stuff like that, reptiles are on this fucking group's warpath. They think they just shouldn't be kept, or whatever the fuck they think. And you know what? I'm not even going to say it's the whole group or whatever. It could very well just be, a handful, 2, 3, 5, 10 people of this group that think this is the way to make an impact on taking down the evil, terrible ball python breeders of Canada. And yeah, so I a couple people have asked me if I think it's because we're associated with Billy. I don't believe so. I don't believe so because just out of the people that are associated with Billy or work for Billy, we're not even the most popular. So, and when I say that, I mean based on follows on Instagram. Oh, are we back? Are we good? Can you hear me? So I have good video, but I can't hear you. Your video is streaming nice and awesome. While we wait for Dan to figure out his audio, I don't actually know, guys. I'm not too sure. I only know of myself and Billy. Well, Nick and I and Billy, I guess, because Nick is also affected, even if he doesn't handle the social media stuff. Yeah, it's hard to say if they're just targeting anybody or if they're going after people. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I said something mean to him. I'm not the nicest person, so. So I'm really hoping Dan's audio comes in soon. Oh. Better than no sound. Oh, Sal, you're funny. Oh, that sounds promising.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah. That's a lot better.
All right. Rogan's podcast, eh?
Hey, you know what? Sometimes
But I mean, you're well, it's the internet, man. It's a bad time of the day. So it's part of the living in the country, man. So
you know what? We'll make do with it. We appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. You know, I appreciate you working with me here to get it working and you know, not just bailing out. I've had that happen a couple times. So thank you, Dan. Thanks for coming.
or I mean, I could phone in and you know, I can do.
Unfortunately, there's no.
I appreciate
it,
man. I really do.
Oh, I think we're still delayed a little bit. Weird. Dan, have you tried from your phone? Maybe I don't know. Sometimes StreamYard works a little better off of a phone camera. I don't know what kind of phone you have. Sorry, guys. Obviously, there's still a few more kinks to work out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen, man. Like the internet is the internet here. So,
well, I mean, guys, I really wanted this to happen. So, you know, maybe if this isn't going to happen tonight,
I can try my phone.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to give this one more go. But what I was going to say was if this doesn't happen now as there's actually, unfortunately, no way to like phone in. I don't even have a way to like input audio into my computer only because my phone doesn't have an audio jack. So I would need a lightning cable to audio, like auxiliary, and I do not have one of those. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's not possible. Oh, that seems like it might be better. No, nothing. Okay. Hold well, on. Dan, you know what? You gave it every try you could. I really, really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. We're gonna make this happen sometime. If it's not gonna happen tonight, I was just about to say I plan to come that way at some point in the next year or so. I appreciate you giving it every attempt, man. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, man. It's just it's working a little better on the phone, but
somebody actually just said, why do you still have my phone number? Why don't you try calling me? I could just leave you on speaker on my end.
Why don't we do that?
Cool. You know what? We're gonna go real old school, guys. I'm going to send you my number again, Dan, just in case. That way you don't have to go looking for it.
All right.
Okay, so this is going to be real weird, real old school, and I'm going to be trying to figure out a way to make this not sound too terrible for you guys. I apologize. Probably going to sound like it's coming through a tin can. But we're going to have the first ever Friday Night Live interview where you're just looking at this, and I am sorry. I am so sorry. Anyway, totally forgot to do this, so perfect time. Don, Pear Tree Pythons, huge shout out. One of the nicest dudes I've ever met. If you're not following Don on Instagram, on Facebook, just go do it. You can't follow me, so just go follow him. Okay, we're gonna see how this sounds, Dan.
All right.
Okay, guys. Dan is now on the phone. Please tell me how it sounds. Dan, would you like to introduce yourself now that we're at least able
to communicate?
Yeah, at least at the same time.
Well, apologies, everybody. Unfortunately, I live way out in the country, and one of the issues out here, I mean, it's beautiful. It's a lot of peace and quiet, but unfortunately, internet service is not like it is in the city. So, but anyways, my name is Dan Uremovic. I own and run Big D Exotics Ltd. I'm located just south of Calgary, in between Okotoks and High River, if you know where that is. And I appreciate the chance to talk to everybody. Unfortunately, you can't see me or what have you, but hopefully you can hear me.
We're actually getting some good feedback, and the audio is apparently half decent, which I'm kind of surprised at, but very happy about. So unfortunately, because you're just audio right now, you're not going to be able to see these questions as they come up. So I'm going to just have to ask them to you old school over the phone. And basically, as questions come in from our viewers, I'll announce who it is that's asking and all that, because I know we have a few people in the chat that are not only friends of yours or not friends, maybe friends, I don't know, but people that you're aware of, people that you know. So,
sounds good.
Okay, so first big question is how and when did you get into the hobby, into keeping ball pythons and everything else or anything else you might keep?
Well, to be honest, I think this is my 22nd or 23rd year. And basically, I mean, I've always been into animals, ever since a little kid. My mom and dad would, back in the old days, we'd go to like Kmart or whatever it was. And there was a tropical fish section.
I remember that. Oh my God.
I mean, I would disappear and that's where they'd find me. And so I was always into animals. I mean, I loved fish. I was always interested in, reptiles, amphibians, like when I was a kid, instead of reading like, whatever, like kids books, I mean, I'm reading like encyclopedias of animals and reptiles and fish, and, I'm spouting out scientific names and so, I mean, I've always been into it. And then, as a kid growing up, I started breeding fish. And I would go, I belonged to the local aquarium club, and I'd go there and I'd bag up my fish and we'd have auctions. And I'd be, breeding these super kind of like uber rare cichlids and stuff. And I'm like, 11, 12 years old. My dad would drop me off with my bagged fish, and I'd walk out of there with like $700-800 in my pocket, and they'd come up to me and go, "Hey, when your dad gets here, can we talk to him about how he's getting these fish to breed?" And I said, "Well, he's not the guy to talk to." And they're like, "Well, who do we talk to?" I said, "You're looking at him," and they'd be like staring at me, going, "What?" So, and then. I don't know, I always kind of had a few, reptiles or amphibians, and I really didn't get into it till I finished my second degree I think I was about 28 years old at the time, and I'd bought my own house. I just I bought a trio of Murphy patternless leopard geckos. And that's how I started. And then, about a year later, I bought my first boa, and I was breeding those leopard geckos and selling them, and, just it kind of snowballed from there. And really for a good chunk of, the first part of like the 2000s and stuff, I was kind of breeding locality specific boa constrictors, like boa constrictor on Morali, Longificata, the true red tails, hog islands. And I didn't really get into ball pythons till probably, I don't know, it's like 10, 12 years ago. I mean, I had a few, but I didn't really go hard, into the ball pythons till about then.
Wow. So the ball pythons, would that be one of the most, the more recent species that you kind of work with?
Yeah. I mean, things like, a lot of different milk snakes, king snakes, Sonoran gopher snakes. I bred a lot of carpet pythons, along that time, like the jags and things of that nature. And then, eventually I kind of just started to focus on, certain groups of animals, right? So, boas were always, kind of a big thing for me. And I, for whatever reason, I seem to be able to get them to do their thing. And I was pretty good at getting a lot of the locality morphs to, not the morphs, sorry, but locality specific subspecies to breed. And, and then I got into the ball pythons and, kind of snowballed from there. And now it's predominantly ball pythons with boas, bloods. I do some weird little Kenyan sand boas, and I'm back into leopard geckos, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you did Kenyans. I've actually been looking at grabbing a couple. That's really funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, the ones I have are, they're kind of basically my own concoction. Like I bred a Rufus's phase Kenyan into a paradox snow albino like 6-7 years ago. Then I raised those up, and now I'm making basically a striped or almost solid pattern Kenyan, but it's albino or snow with the paradox spots, and yeah, they're pretty neat.
That's amazing. That sounds exactly like what would be up my alley. So maybe I'm gonna have to.
I got lots.
I might have to message you after we're done.
Yeah.
Oh man. No, I've been Kenyans have always been just one of those snakes that I've always looked at and wanted and never really pulled the trigger on. And now I'm in a position where I don't live where my collection is anymore, and I kind of want a couple like smaller snakes just to have here. You know what I mean? And that's always been one of those like top snakes for me that I never got into. So that's really cool.
Yeah, well. I mean, I've been breeding them for 20 years. I just kind of, I don't know. Well, I'm a pretty low-key guy as it is. I kind of just do my thing. And I always seem to be able to, sell my animals. And, I mean, I am getting more and more into social media. Unfortunately, like, this has traumatized me, so I don't know if that'll happen. But anyways, but I don't know, like I know it's a necessary kind of part of the equation. So I'm getting better at, like the Facebook and the Instagram. But I'll be honest with you, I mean, it's not my favorite thing, right? So if it wasn't for the animals, I'll be honest with you, I'd probably never be on Facebook ever.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like there's almost like a pressure now in the hobby to kind of have at least a bit of a presence. On some social medias, but I mean, it is what it is. And like, you're making amazing animals, and obviously people see what you're doing and they're buying it. Right. So it's working. And, I'll be the first to admit, I actually haven't bought an animal directly from you. But it will, but what's really funny is I do have a couple animals from you. The big one that I like, one of my favorite animals in my collection too, is a what is she? Blackhead Mystic Red Jean Het Lav.
Yep. I have her sister still.
Oh my
So,
God, man. Like just,
yeah.
the color on that animal. Like she's like 1,800 grams and she's still just, I can't believe it. Like, and it's a combination I never would have thought of. You know what I mean? Like I would have never thought to make that. And it's just,
I was lucky, and I mean, I started with that. Well, actually, I got him from Billy. Had gotten him from somebody, and Billy traded me that animal as part of a deal that we did. And at that time, I didn't have any blackhead, but you know, I can't remember the guy's name that I think it originally came from, but it was a guy in the U.S. and he had like some really, really super dark, like blackhead stuff. And I still have that male, believe it or not, and I still breed them every once in a while. And I mean, I've made a billion different, you know, het combos and multi-codon morphs out of them. And I mean, they all come out dark and like, I mean, there's no mistaking them. You know, like you look at some blackhead combos out there, and I mean, you got to kind of squint your eyes and, you know, is it, isn't it? You know,
Yep.
But this guy, I mean, the stuff that he makes it's dark. It's like the color is really like rich and deep and, you know, like a lot of orange and like some of the stuff that I made with Mojave with that guy. I mean, it was like the sides were red. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's amazing.
It was crazy looking.
Can you repeat what that male was? I think you cut out as you said what it was, just for the people tuning in.
He was a blackhead mystic male, and that's all he was.
Oh, wow.
I think he has red gene.
Yeah, because I think the animal that I bought from someone else that bought her from you. And I think what he told me was that they were kind of like, I don't know if it was you or him, but they were kind of 50-50 on the red gene in her. But I personally don't care. She's beautiful and she's Het Lav. I'm happy as all hell.
I mean, like a lot of the stuff that I've made out of him, I mean, it's quite evident that he has red gene. And I mean, at the time when I was making that stuff, I mean, nobody could really pick that stuff out. You know, like this is, you know, I think I made my first blackhead like 6-7 years ago or something like that. So it was, you know, like everybody was like, he's got red gene or ringer gene or what. And at some point I just said, well, if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't, you know, like it's a nice looking blackhead, you know, at that point. And I mean, when I've crossed them into Enchi stuff, it really shows up. Like literally the sides of some of those animals are like red. That's amazing.
I'm actually aiming to make a black pastel yellow belly dreamsicle to put to her. I have a clutch that actually just laid today that could make me my male. But yeah, man, I don't know if I'm sure you've seen them by now, but the blackhead dream combinations that have been coming out.
Yeah, super nice.
They're
I'm
unbelievable.
My way towards that as well. And I picked up. Well, I made some nice dreamsicle stuff. I mean, I have a pair of Enchi dreams, and then I got a pastel yellow belly dream male. And
was that from Justin?
No, I made the Enchis.
Oh, nice.
And the pastel yellow belly dream male I actually got from Matt Quinn. And then I liked them so much, I actually picked up like 4 female pastel yellow belly lavender hets. So
it's funny. As soon as you said Matt Quinn, I remembered the exact animal that you have.
Yeah. It's nice, man. It's like it's super low white, you know, and it's just like unbelievable color. And I think he made it from like an ivory dream male.
Yeah, I know that animal too.
Yeah, like a lot of those, you know, when you make stuff out of supers, let's say if you make stuff out of super orange dreams, you make stuff out of ivories, you make stuff, you know, the codon animals you make out of there tend to be like way more expressed for some reason. Like they just look better.
Yeah, I made some leopard yellow belly het DG pos het pieds this year from an ivory. And I swear to God, they look like visual desert ghost. It's nuts how bright these animals are, and I'm positive it's just the really crazy expression of the yellow belly that's actually really brightening it up. But it's I would tend to agree with you. Anytime I've seen any animals come out of a pairing from a super, they're usually quite high expression for whatever that codom is that made up the super.
Yeah, for sure. You know, like I mean, I've noticed the same thing. You know, breeding ivories and various other supers, and you know, they just look better. Like you get like, you know, super enchi combos, and you breed those, like you could breed it into a normal, you know, and you get like phenomenal, you know, looking enchis, and they just look better.
Yeah,
you know, like they just seem to express the trait on a different level, kind of thing.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that too, because when I first started noticing that, I was like, I wonder if I'm just like making it up, because you know that they're all whatever that gene is. Do you know what I mean? Like whether it's pastels from a super pastel or enchies from a super enchi or whatever, like you kind of think to yourself like, am I just convincing myself that they're nicer, or like is it just because they're all this gene? And no, like generally, and I've had a couple animals that have come out of a couple clutches that, you know, weren't the best looking, but for the most part, yeah, they come out quite awesome.
Yeah, like they look better. I mean, like the pastel yellow belly lavender head pied females that I got from Matt. I have 4 of them, and I mean, it hurts your eyes to look at them.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you open up the bin, like that's how bright they are. You know, so
how old are they, Dan? When did you buy them?
Well, we actually did a trade because Matt's all into blood pythons, and I breed those as well. So
sorry, I should have said, when did you get them?
But I had them for like 6 months, something like that.
Oh, okay. Those were the recent ones that he had.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I think I remember him posting a couple of those, and they're just like highlighters, like.
Oh yeah, they're like glow in the dark. Like they look awesome. So, you know, and well, and Matt and I, like I said, I mean, he and I are I've never met him, to be honest, but I mean, you know, we talk on the phone and you know, text back and forth, whatever. I mean, you know, I consider him, you know, a pretty good friend, and we've done a few trades like that, and yeah, I mean, he makes a lot of nice animals. Like,
and like,
stuff from him as well.
And he's so low key about it. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like he's hiding away until he has an animal to kind of move.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same way. We're kind of like 2 peas in a pod. You know. Like,
Yep.
I'm like I used to joke around because I used to go to shows, and you know, like a lot of people who've been around, I mean, they know who I am. But I mean, I go to shows and I have all these animals on my table, and people would come by and go, "Where did you come from?" And you know, but I mean, I'll be honest. For the most part, up until recently, I mean, I had a full-time job, and I was like a sales manager for a mining company.
Mm-hmm.
So I was busy, right? Like, you know, a lot of my days were, I go to work all day. I go straight to the shop. I get home at 11 o'clock, you know? So, but as of February 5th, I'm basically, like, I'm done. Like, I'm basically semi-retired, and I'm just doing the animals now. So
that's amazing, though. Like, that's really cool. Just doubling back to Quinn just for a second. Like, I'm not sure if you know, but I've met Quinn multiple times in person. I used to work for Billy, and they're good buddies. So when I started working for Billy is when just before Quinn moved up north. So he was around a lot. One of the nicest guys ever. If I'm just gonna say this for the sake of being on this live, if anybody ever has a chance to pick up an animal from Matt Quinn, do it. If he has something you're looking for, grab it. It's always just great quality, beautiful animal. They're always very healthy. Just do it. Go do it.
I mean,
that's all I want to say. I just wanted to give Matt a shout out because he makes some incredible stuff.
And I mean, like on the same time, like I'm kind of picky about, you know, where I get stuff, and but yeah, I mean, like, you know, him and I have always had good dealings, you know, like I said, we kind of, you know, see things from a similar viewpoint or whatever. And yeah, I mean, we've always got along, and you know, he's been a great guy, and I've got some great animals from him.
Okay, that's enough. I think that's enough of us now. Sweet talking Matt Quinn. I'm going to move on to my next question.
Matt Quinn's ass.
That's exactly what we were doing.
You better give me some good deals after this.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to my next question. I actually accidentally deleted my thing for the screen here. So if anybody's audio only, I apologize. Or oh no, I guess it doesn't matter. Fucking never mind, Dan. Don't listen to me. So sorry. My question is, what was your first big goal animal? And I'm talking any species. Did you have like a time where there was just one thing that you really, really needed to make? And what was it?
Yeah, I mean, I have one. Like when I've always been kind of a morph guy, right? Like
yep.
Anything that's albino or different, or you know, like I remember reading the National Geographic. I don't know when it was. Again, like I'm old, so about you know, like that albino Burmese, and I think it was Bob Clark, you know, had imported the albino Burmese into. Yep. You know, North America, and I saw that on the front of a National Geographic cover, and I was just like, what the fuck is that? You know, like I was just like speechless, you know. And so when I first started getting into this type of stuff, I mean, back then albino boas, they didn't exist. Like Pete Call was just starting to produce them. They were huge dollars. I think Todd Constable was, you know, I actually bought one of my first albino boas from Todd Constable back in 2000.
I haven't heard that name in like a decade. That is so funny.
Well, get ready for some like old time references because, like I said, it you know, it goes back like a lot of. You know, I'm sure some of the guys listening probably were barely born then. You know, so.
Yeah, you're making me feel old, man. Like, damn.
Well, I'm an old guy, man. I'm like 50 years old. You know, but anyway, yeah. So I mean, you know, like when I got like my first albino boa, like nobody had those out here. Like I took it to a show, and I swear to God, I had probably 100 people, like six people deep in front of my table looking at it.
Oh my God.
You know, and so, you know, like when I first, that was kind of my thing originally was that, you know, I bred them a couple of years down the road, and I had, I don't know, it was like 16, 17 babies. It was albino to albino, and I literally sold them in a weekend.
Oh my God.
So, and at that time, I mean, I think I was making, you know, I just finished school, so I had like a sales job or whatever. I was making maybe like, you know, 35, 40 grand a year. And in a weekend, I almost made what I made in a year.
That's insane. That's so crazy.
So, I mean, and that's kind of what got the, you know, and then I was thinking like, hey, you know, like this, I might actually be able to do something here, you know, and, so, like I said, it just kind of snowballed from there. And I mean, you know, I always worked. So I took a lot of the money that I made, you know, breeding reptiles, and I reinvested it. I would, like, if I wanted something, you know, I usually had the money for it based on the animals that I sold, you know. So I just kind of grew it slowly and, you know, methodically and little by little, you know, and then it got to the point now where I'm not going to be a millionaire. And I mean, you know, I'm sure there is guys out there that do make that kind of money, but I mean, I can live, you know, fairly comfortably just breeding my animals now. So.
And that, I mean, I think that's the goal for I don't want to say everybody, because I'm sure not everybody in this hobby wants to only do this. I'm sure there's some people that only want to, you know, breed a couple of animals a year and get a couple clutches and be like, awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
And then go back to work. But I think anybody that's really deep, I think that's probably most of their end goals. You know, to be able to just not go to work and that be your work. You know what I mean? That like that is your day to day. If I would kill to be able to stay home and just take care of my animals, like it would be a dream for me. And we're a ways off that, like well ways. But it's what you're talking about right now is a dream for not only myself, but probably a lot of people that are watching live, and then also quite a few people that'll catch this after the fact. So that's awesome, man.
Well, and like I said, I mean, it's taken a long time too, right? Like it wasn't overnight, and you know, like I had a lot of days where, you know, like for my real job for the last 20 years, I mean, I traveled every second week, so most of my customers were, you know, in the US or overseas or, you know, in some other part of Canada. And luckily, you know, throughout that time, I've had, you know, various helpers and stuff that would help me out. You know, like Mandy Halderman of Next Morph. I mean, she started helping me many, many years ago, and Jason Windsor. And now I have, you know, Rory and Alyssa from Nocturnal Obsession and stuff. And without those guys, I mean, when I couldn't have done both. So it's not, you know, all just me. It's, you know, a lot of the people that have kind of helped me kind of throughout the years. And, you know, like when I was gone and stuff, they would check on eggs and, you know, see if a bull litter arrived or, you know, whatever, like, and you know, just look after stuff while I was gone. So, but yeah, I mean, it was like, it's a lot of long hours, you know, like it took me a long time to get to the point where, you know, like I could actually, let's say, make some sort of a living doing it, right? It wasn't overnight.
And that that's I mean, I don't think anybody can expand to that point on their own. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
You mentioned Mandy, and I'm just going to take this time to give a very, very, very loud shout out to Mandy from Next Morph. She's actually one of the 2 drink sponsors from for this show. She told me that she couldn't watch it live because they're going camping this weekend. But no, Mandy's already been on the show before, and she's probably one of my closer friends in the hobby now.
Yeah.
She's doing some absolutely outstanding things also, like just some unreal animals that she's making. So I just want to give a big shout out to her. Yeah, she can't say enough nice things. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, and like I said, I've always, you know, right now, you know, I've got Rory and Alyssa that help me out, and you know, without them, really, I mean, now that I'm not working, I mean, I guess I could do it, but the thing is like, you know, when you have animals, it's tough to go anywhere, right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
There's always, you know, you got to check on this. You got to make sure this is okay. You got to check on this. You got to move this guy around. You know, like, there's always tons of stuff to do. And so without, you know, the people that have kind of helped me along the years, really, you know, I wouldn't have been, you know, able to grow it while I was still working. And so, yeah, I mean, a big shout out to them, you know, like I said, for helping me out. And I've always appreciated it, right? So,
and you know what, like just like you're saying right now, I mean, I did the same for Billy. Obviously, you know, he has Austin and Lion now, and Catherine and Lane, and like that, he's got his team, and it's hard. Like there's a point. I think there's like a middle point where everybody needs sort of a hand, right? Where you're not quite making enough to get by and be comfortable, like not working, but you also can't really do it all on your own because, like you said, there's always something happening. There's a clutch being laid. There's a clutch hatching. There's a male that needs to go in with a female. There's, you know, like there's always something happening in the snake room. So it's tough.
For sure. And you know, like I could be in Houston, or wherever, you know, Timbuktu. And I would send, you know, like a messenger text, you know, and just say, hey, you know, make sure you move this guy over here or do this, or, you know, like, and he would like, yeah, no problem. When I'm in there tomorrow or whatever, you know, like it's, you can't, like for me, especially because big part of my job was travel. There's no way I could have done it. Like, I mean, I can't leave the animals for a week with nobody being there, you know? So, yeah, like, I mean, that's definitely helped me, you know, along the way. And you know, like I said, without those people helping me, you know, it would have been a lot tougher for sure.
And yeah, I mean, Nick and I even have people that help us, you know what I mean? Like when we're away. So, yeah, you know what, like anybody that does that, you know, helps out. And you know what, most of the people that help us out are just friends. Like I can't afford to pay anybody. So like they're the real friggin' heroes of this hobby. Let's be honest. Like they're there when you need them, right? So
for sure. You know,
I'm gonna jump onto a question that somebody that keeps saying to ask. And it's Kat from Morphs.
Yep.
So the question is, and this is one of my set questions, how many clutches did you project for the year 2021? And are you close to that projection?
Well, Rory, my helper, is at 160. That's his projection. I'm probably over 100.
Oh my God.
So, but I mean, you know, there's more, like I breed all year round. So
oh yeah.
I mean, I get clutches every month of the year.
Yep.
So, I mean, I still have probably 40 left to lay. I'm still getting ovulations. I'm still getting breeding, like insane breeding, like the last couple of weeks, actually. And I don't know. I kind of do a thing where I kind of pick out 20, 30 females and I kind of concentrate on them. I do it in stages. So I pick out 20, 30 females that I think are, you know, like they're up to size, like, you know, they're looking good. And then, you know, I'll invest like a little bit of extra food in them. And, you know, once they go, then I get on to the next 20, 30. And then once they go, then I get on to the next 20, 30. Then once they go, you know, I get on to the next 20, 30. And that's kind of how I do it. So I get like kind of big dumps of clutches, and then the next go around starts, you know,
right?
And go around number 3 and 4. So like literally the last 3-4 years, I've been producing clutches all year round.
And that's the way to do it, man. Like if I could never turn my incubator off, I wouldn't. Like I would love to always have babies coming. Unfortunately, we're just at the point where like I think we're just achieving the size that you need to be at to always have eggs. We're sitting around, I want to say 75 to 80 breeder females. And then probably by Christmas, we'll be up to 100, like with females moving up and stuff like that. But yeah, it's, man, like the thought of never having to turn my incubator off. I mean, as much as it's going to suck for hydro, it's, it's, yeah, that's the dream, man. Like I'm excited for it. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. I mean, well, for me, here in Alberta, obviously, I don't know if you know, but you know, we can't have live rats here.
Yep.
So I feed probably 90 to 95% of my collection eats frozen thawed something.
Oh my God! Wow.
So, I mean, a big part of my time is spent just feeding everybody. Right? Because I mean, I'm sure you know, like if you're feeding frozen thawed all the time, like I mean, you could give a prey item to a female, and you come back half an hour later, she's dropped it. Well, I got to do. Sometimes you got to give it to them twice. you know,
Mhm.
and it's not like you just throw in a live rat, you know, you come back and it's gone, you know, and so it's very times, but I've kind of like adapted, I guess, you know, like I feed frozen thawed rats, I feed frozen thawed ASFs. I mean, I raised some of my own mice and ASF, but it's basically just to get, you know, hatchlings started.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then I kind of switch them over because, I mean, here in Alberta, everybody wants everything on frozen thawed, right? So it makes it a little tougher. And then I'm like, you know, I've gotten to the point where I said, you know, like you really, like it's a ball python. Like, I mean, maybe they'll eat frozen thawed for, you know, 2/3 of their life. And then all of a sudden one day it's like, forget it.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So, and I mean, I'll tell you a bit of a story. I mean, like when I first started breeding ball pythons, I mean, I was breeding boas. So, I mean, they eat anything, right? Anything that's even remotely, like I'm sure you could probably feed them chicken drumsticks. I don't know, you know, like they probably eat it. So feeding isn't an issue. But I mean, with ball pythons, the first year I had maybe, I don't know, let's say I had 20 females that were ready to go. And I'm like, you're eating frozen thawed just like everybody else. And, you know, I had these 20 females, and I mean, they were all, you know, borderline, you know, a couple thousand grams or whatever. But I bred those 20 females, and I think I got 2 or 3 clutches. And that was it.
Wow.
And then the next year, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to feed you whatever you want to eat. And I had about 30 females, you know, and I fed them. They wanted to eat frozen thawed ASFs, I gave them that. If they wanted rats, I gave them that. If they wanted mice, I gave them that. If they wanted live ASF, I gave them that. And I bred, you know, 30 females that year, and I think I got 28 or 29 clutches.
Oh my God.
Right? So ever since that point, you know, it's like, yeah, it's nice to be able to feed frozen thawed, and they always eat every week. But that's, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like La La Land, you know, when it comes to ball pythons.
And it's kind of funny that you bring that up, because recently, especially recently, I've been seeing a lot of people, you know, swearing by ASFs and, you know, like just basically like cutting off the basic Norwegian rat that most of us in the hobby have been taught is the staple prey item. And it's really cool to see different people's perspectives, especially people with a lot of experience, such as yourself, in feeding different prey types, especially to building females. That's, I want to say, probably the big thing, right? Because when your female's building, if she goes off food too early, it might not be because she's done eating. She just might not want what you're offering.
Correct. And that's where this kind of falls into, you know, the whole scheme of things is for instance, I might have females, they'll eat like frozen thawed rats. Okay.
Yep.
They'll eat frozen thawed rats throughout most of the year. You know, you introduce a male,
Mm-hmm.
they start doing their thing, the female starts building. Well, guess what? The next week she doesn't want a frozen thawed rat. But she might take 2 frozen thawed ASFs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 2 weeks later, she might not want those, but maybe she'll take a live one. And all it takes, and what I've told to a lot of people who bought animals from me, or like, you know, the people that help me and stuff like that, all it takes is sometimes 1 or 2 extra meals to kind of put them over that hump. You know what I'm saying? Where
Oh yeah.
either they're going to continue developing follicles or they're going to reabsorb.
Yep. And what's important is a lot of people don't realize that the female has to be comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, she has to feel comfortable. And if that extra meal, even if it's just one extra meal that she wouldn't have gotten, is what it takes to allow that to continue onto eggs, like, how is that not worth it?
Well, it is. And that's kind of what, you know, I've always said is, you know, you have these people that are stuck on frozen thawed, and I've told people this, like, I don't mean to be rude or I don't want to discourage, but I mean, if you're stuck on that notion of frozen thawed or one type of prey item or whatever, you know, you might not do as well as you could if you were kind of open to trying different things, you know?
And it's funny that you say that, because this year coming up, so what I don't know if you're aware, you and I obviously have only talked kind of in passing.
Yeah.
But we are basically making a new snake room. So we're putting everything together. Our collection was split up before, and now it's finally going to all be in one place. But one of the things we've talked about is just breeding a few small ASF colonies. For one, for our breeding males, because I've heard nothing but good things about sort of, keeping them on ASFs. And then two, for our females that are building, because I've noticed a couple times a female will go off food for 2-3 weeks, and then I'll have a spare ASF kicking around from one of my picky eaters, and I'll throw it in with her to give her a little bit extra, like, just to see, and like no hesitation. So
well, yeah, and it makes a huge difference. And I mean, I have, I don't know, maybe like 16 ASF colonies at any one time, and I always have some that, and I mean, I actually feed a lot of my males ASFs. Like, I have a good source for frozen ASFs here. I have 2 or 3 people that I get them from, and I buy literally probably 1,000 a month. And,
wow, and that's for your males.
Well, no, I mean, I feed them to females. I feed them to like certain hatchlings that I'm keeping back. And I actually notice, and I mean, I don't know, people might say I'm full of shit or whatever, but the animals that I've raised on ASFs, they grow, I might have to give them more like prey items, but at the end of the day, they grow really well. And what I've noticed is, like, my snakes they're not fat. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Like,
when you pick up one of my females, it's like picking up like wrought iron. Like, they're solid friggin' muscle, and they're big. Like, I've had 6,000 gram females. 7,000. I mean, my biggest clutch is 16 eggs.
Did
right?
you just say 16?
Yeah, and I mean, I had first year breeders this year give me 13 and 14.
That's insane.
So, I find too, like, even if you give them a few ASFs at the end of the, like, as they're building and they're getting closer to ovulating, you give them a few ASFs. Well, guess what? Once they lay, and what Rory and I do is actually we wash them off after they lay to get any of the smell of the eggs. And then they go right back to rats. Like, there's almost no hesitation. People go, oh, if I feed them an ASF, they'll never ever want to eat rats. Well, I don't find that's the case in my collection.
And actually, any females that I've had that were picky eaters, like up to building and then going on to lay, I've actually had great success switching them onto rats after laying.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I've had the same thing, right? Like, I've had females that have literally taken me 4 years to get to laying,
Yep.
Like, they eat, and then like 2-3 weeks go by, they don't eat, then they eat again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's this slow progression of, you slowly get them to size, and then they lay. And once they're done laying, it's like a totally different animal.
100%. I've noticed the same thing. But actually, a question I've had for you, Dan, since I asked you the clutch thing is, what are you operating at in terms of just breeding animals, not including grow-ups or any babies you might have?
I have about 400 females, but I don't breed them on a yearly basis. So I pick and choose. Pick and choose who I want to breed.
And that makes sense as the like you mentioned, you pick like 20, 30 at a time and kind of focus. So it makes sense, right? I assume, do you have, like, you use an ultrasound?
No, I palpate everything. I mean, I've just gotten to the point where I've done it so many times that I don't need it. Like I can tell you how many follicles it has, how many good eggs. Like if the female has like 2 slugs and 5 good eggs, I can tell you that.
A man after my own heart. Oh my God. I am a huge proponent for palpating. We got an ultrasound just because I want to be positive. But since I started, you can ask Billy or anybody that works for him. I've always been a proponent for not ultrasounding, palpating. Not just because it's accurate as long as you know what you're doing, but because it's so handy. Like, it's so quick. You know what I mean? Like
2 seconds.
Exactly. You open your animal's bin, you do a little spot clean, maybe top their water up, pull it out, check it. All right, you're off. You're done. Like, that's all it takes. You don't have to set up an ultrasound and, put down a chair and get your paper towels ready. Like, it's just in and out and you're done. And it's amazing. I love palpating.
And not only that, but, like if you've been around your animals long enough, you start to observe, changes in behavior, what they're doing. Are they bull wrapping? Are they, like you said, they get a little bit more finicky. And then, like I've seen it so many times now. I just look at them. I'm like, yeah, it's time, and boas especially for me, because I bred so many of them. Like, I can't even tell you how many litters of boas I've had in the last 22 or whatever years. But I mean, when I look at like a lot of people, I think they breed them by accident, and
oh my God, that's amazing.
But I mean, I can, I can basically on a calculated way, I can get my, I know when my females are starting to build, like for boas. There's certain indications, like body-wise, that you can see that, indicate that they're kind of going through some stuff. And, I just observe them, like how they act, how the males act. Like, I'll introduce the males. But, I mean, one thing you'll notice on boas, and, is they'll get like these, when they're kind of starting to build, is they get almost like these tiny little beads along the sides of their bodies, and they look like almost like you put like a marble underneath their skin. And again, that's just from observing stuff over many, many, many years. And like this year, I bred, I think, 7 boas, and because they'll have huge litters anyways, right? So it's like I bred 7 boas and I got 7 litters, 6 were good.
Oh my God. Wow.
So it's almost gotten to a point where, like with the boas, I can basically like predetermine what I want to do,
Yeah, no, I get that. That makes a lot of sense.
So, and I mean, the ball pythons are the same way, right? Like, I mean, females need the reserves to breed. They need certain conditions. I mean, I typically, I mean, because I have a lot of females, I typically wait a little longer than most people probably. Like, I mean, I think I breed my females usually when they're around 3. And, which some guys, they'll breed them at 18 months or 2 years or whatever. And I mean, I'm not, opposed to that, but I mean, it's just kind of like my thing. And usually when I'm breeding stuff, it's, it's usually well over 2,000 grams.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I've done. Like a lot of the females are 2,500. And I mean, I've noticed that by waiting that extra little bit is, instead of getting 5 or 6 eggs, I get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
And that's huge, right? Like, some people think getting those 3, 4, 5 eggs that first or second or whatever year is worth it. And I'll admit I do it sometimes. But waiting that extra time, giving the females that extra time to do their thing and kind of prepare a little more. I genuinely believe that like an average ball python clutch should be around 8 eggs. Like 8 to 9 eggs. Like I think that's kind of what is the common size, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I would agree, right? Like, I mean, if I was to look back at like my clutches this year, I mean, yeah, I had a few, train wrecks, and I mean that happens, right? Like,
yep.
You get a female, and again, it's one of those females that is, took forever to grow up. And she squeaks out like 5 eggs and 2 go bad, or she squeaks out 3 and 2 or 3 slugs or whatever, and that happens. But I mean, I think on average, and I mean, you can go on my Facebook page and you can scroll through the whole year, right?
Yep.
And I mean, I don't post every clutch, but I mean, quite a few of them. And but I mean, you see like 8, 9, 10, 11, egg clutches, right? Like,
yep.
And a lot of these females, and I'll even put it in my posts, right? I'll be like, this is the first time female. And, I had some, like I said, this year I had a couple first time females give me 13 and 14 eggs.
First year females giving you 13 and 14 eggs?
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I mean, they're 3 years old, maybe a little older than 3. And I mean, they're good eaters. But yeah, like I have a crazy male I got from Aussie. He's a super orange dream, banana, Enchi, yellow belly pied male. And I bred him to Mojave double head VPI Xanthic female that I had. And because I wanted to kind of breed him to more of a basic female, just to kind of find out that in fact, like exactly what his genes are. Because, with Aussie, it's like a million different things in there.
Oh, I got a story for you after this. Keep going, though.
And, he gives it his best shot. But, I mean, I don't blame the guy. I mean, like, he's got so much stuff floating around that, like, he takes his best guess. So, I mean, I kind of bred him to, like, more basic females this year. But, yeah, like, that female was a first-year breeder. She's, like, 3 and a bit. Maybe was like 2,500, 2,800 grams, and she gave me 13 eggs.
That's amazing. That's insane. That's awesome though. Like 13 eggs per clutch. Like, could you imagine if we could find a way to guarantee that? It would change the entire game.
Well, I mean, I think you can get. I mean, I have a female het pied that's 23 years old. And
oh my God,
she's one of the first het pieds that was ever produced in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got her, it was like 1999 or 2000 or something like that. And I traded $8,000 for her.
Wow.
Right? Back then. And that snake routinely gives me like 14 egg clutches. 13, 14. But I don't breed her every year, right? Like I kind of breed her every second year. There's been probably a few stints where it's gone 3 years. But she's going to go again this year at 23 years old.
That's nuts, man. Like that's such a crazy thought. Especially because I've seen the question every once in a while of like, how old can they breed? And I mean, we don't really know. The hobby really hasn't been around long enough for us to accurately say how long they can safely breed, right? So the fact that you have a 23-year-old female that's going again this year and drops you well over 10 eggs, like,
yeah,
that's got to be a sign that these things can produce well into their 20s.
2019, she gave me 14 eggs.
Oh my God.
So, and I mean, I don't even know how many clutches I've gotten out of it over that 20 somewhat years.
Right. And I you know what? Like you said you traded like $8,000 worth of animals for her, but I'm sure, I bet you in her first, 2 years, she like paid herself off double easily?
Well, probably. I mean, I can't actually even remember that far back, but, I mean, she was actually a pretty crappy eater for the first little while that I had
okay.
her. And then, like I said, once she got that first clutch out of the way, and I think geez, I don't know. It probably would have been like 2003. I'm thinking that it took me that long to get a clutch out of her. And, but yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how many pies she's made over the years. I mean, I have no clue.
That's such a cool story, though. Like, I believe Billy has a pied female. It was a 2006, and that before this story that you just told, that was the oldest female that I knew of that was still breeding, like still being bred is what I should say.
I produced a pastel pied female in 2005, and I still have that snake. And she was a daughter of that head pied.
Oh wow!
And that was the first pastel pied, I believe, produced in Canada, if I remember correctly.
That's really cool.
And I still have her, and she's going to breed again this year.
That's crazy.
I have my original pied male that I bought in 2005.
You still have the original pie that you bought for your collection?
Correct, yeah.
That is really cool. I feel like a lot of people now feel like they need to constantly upgrade their males, and they just constantly ship their old ones out. I try not to do that.
I do that somewhat, but there's a few key animals that I have that kind of, I don't know if I'll ever get rid of that guy. You know what I mean? I can't remember last time I actually bred him, but, I still feed him. He still looks good. I still have him. And I mean, it's just kind of a special, he holds a special spot, right? Because that was one of my first, major purchases. And I don't know, I got a ton of other pied males from all over the place. And, but that male still, kind of holds a special spot for me. So, I don't know if I wouldn't even give him away. Maybe if somebody promised they would look after him and, not, flip him in a week or whatever. But, I kind of owe something to that animal.
Oh, 100%. And I feel like if you have that deep of a connection with one of your animals, at that point, it'd be like giving a dog away. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not that I don't see it, on quite the same level, but
I was exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah. I look at that guy and I'm like, and he makes some crazy looking head pies. Every once in a while, I kind of chuck him to something and make these crazy heads. And, he still breeds, he eats fantastic, he looks good, he blew a hemipene, 12 years ago. And so he has a little bit of scar tissue there, but it doesn't seem to bother him. He'll still breed,
I have a male like that.
So I do have a certain attachment to that guy, and I have a few other guys like that too, right? So,
right,
like my first banana male, I paid $18,000 for that male, and I still have him.
Man, it's funny because you have not only just been in it, but you were already deep in it when I first got in, and then I got out, and then I came back. And that's what the reptile ward sort of came to be. And you've just spent that whole time like it was nothing. And that for me, that's like a 13-year period. That's a big chunk of my life. You know what I mean?
It's gone by quick, man. I tell you, some days I wake up and I'm holy shit, I've been doing this that long. My son's 16 years old. It predates him.
Yep.
He's kind of growing up around that stuff, and he's not really into it that much. He doesn't mind them, but it's crazy. I remember, when I first started dating my wife, we went to the Calgary Pet Expo, I think it was, and I bought my first boa, and it was like our second date, you know.
Oh my God.
And so she doesn't like snakes, but I said, well, what do you expect? I said, you know, like, you're part of, like, you made me buy it, so you're part of the problem, you know. So it's like, because I was like, well, what do you think? Should I buy it? She's like, yeah, it's kind of cool, you know. So I was like, and you know, yeah, and I mean, it's been a big part of my life for a long time.
All right, Dan, we're closing in on an hour and a half real quick. So I got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
And I think what I'm going to want to do is, if I'm ever out your direction, I would like to do one of these kind of in person, because I feel like as great as it is that we got you on the phone, this is working.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like it's kind of missing something. It's missing a little bit of you. So I'm not going to run through all the questions we have, because I'm going to be hopeful that we can sort of run this back. But I got like 2 more questions for you, and then, you know, as long as we run telling stories or whatever, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But so the first of the 2 questions I have left for you is, what was your first big, like, massive disappointment or letdown, like, within the snake hobby?
Well, I can tell you right now, it's I don't know. This probably would have been 2005. I'm thinking, and Motley boas were a big thing. You know, they were just starting to get offered by, you know, there's a guy named Jeremy Stone out of Utah, and I had purchased I can't remember what it was, like a Motley head albino. It was like ridiculous amounts of money at that time, and then I purchased, I think, one of the first albino Motley boas that he released. And I think I paid, I don't know, it was like 10 or 12,000 US at the time. And I got this thing, and it hadn't even had its first shed. Like, he just sent it to me. Like, literally, it was born, put it in a box, and sent it to me. And I mean, it shed out, and it was small, and I mean, I kind of nursed it back to health, and kind of took it slow, and finally I got it up to breeding size. It took like about 1.5 years, and I bred it to, you know, like some crazy female at the time that I had, and, you know, and he was breeding, and he probably got, you know, like, I keep my boas on newsprint. So there's not really anything for, like, debris or anything to get into, like, the hemipain and cause an infection. But, you know, maybe he was locked up and, you know, pulled away and it tore something, or who knows. Long story short, he got a badly infected hemipain. And I took him to the vet 2, 3 different times, and he ended up not making it. And, I mean, I got nothing from that on, you know, like, it was a ton of money, a ton of effort, you know, and then to end up that way, you know. So that was probably one of my biggest, you know, kind of, you know, kind of sob stories, or whatever you want to call it, right? So,
and you know what, I mean, I feel like anybody that's been in this a little while has one of those, you know what I mean? Like, maybe not to that degree, but I feel like everybody has one of those, like, oh, super excited to get this animal, or, you know, have had it for a while. And
yeah,
it's tough, because
you know,
when
it's the highs and the lows, right?
it's tough, because I always want to say paid a lot of money. But that means different things for a lot of different people, right? Some people, $500 is a shit ton of money.
Oh, exactly. And
So,
I mean, you know, and, or maybe, like I said, you have a specific attachment to that animal, or you have a certain project you want to kind of start, or, you know, get into, or, you know, make some heads for this gene, or it's not necessarily the money. I mean, it's, you know, it was something that, you know, I really wanted to, like, work with and make, and, you know, I invested a lot of money, of course, and, you know, a lot of time, and, you know, the animal was, like, super small when I got it. I mean, like, it was a bunch of different things. And then, you know, but that's I mean, they're not machine, right? So they're living, breathing, organisms where, shit can go wrong. And the more animals you have, the more chances that, something goes south. Like, for instance, another one I had was probably like 5-6 years ago. I had a banana crown female, and I bred a pastel GHI Krypton to her, and she had probably 7 or 8 eggs. And this is before anybody had done, any kind of banana GHI clowns or whatever. I mean, we barely knew what the Kryptons were at that point.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And, everything I tried to do to help her and took her to the vet, and she died egg-bound. So, and I mean, that happens, I can count maybe on one hand how many times that's happened in like 20 years. But I mean, it does happen, right? Like,
oh yeah, I watched that same thing happen to a clown pied female at Billy's.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh my God. It was a clown pied to, I think, a yellow belly dreamsicle too. And like, she was like 3 days away from laying and just dead. Like, unreal, man.
Like I said, it happens, and it's kind of part of the game, right? Like, I mean, you'll have times where, you everything goes perfect, and you get like fantastic clutches, and you get everything you hope for and more. And then there's other times where you totally shit the bed, and it's this fucking train wreck, like. So that's kind of, it's part of the deal, right?
Oh, 100%. You know what? Like, I haven't been super open about this, but I'm not hiding it by any means. But so this year, like, we invested pretty heavily in the Dream School project when Jesse Wilson left.
Yeah.
So Billy and Mordex ball pythons together kind of bought him out, and I took a portion of that, Nick and I. And it's been great for Billy, and it's been great for Mordex. They've made a shit ton of Dreamsicle stuff. You know who has not made a Dreamsicle until like 2 months ago? This guy.
You.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I had one girl, and she was a little smaller. I got her as a proven breeder double het that came from that collection. And she was always a little iffy for me on food, but like never worried me. You know what I mean? Like, I was never concerned about pairing her or anything. Paired her up to a Dream, and then the Dream went off food. So I paired her up to a yellow belly pied het lav. And, she was building, she was eating great all of a sudden. I was super stoked. This female that was usually sitting around like 1,800 grams, all of a sudden ballooned up to like 25. I was thrilled. My first possible Dream Schools are coming. And then just dead. Egg bound. Just first shot, dead.
Well, and like I said, I mean, I've had some kind of gut-wrenching episodes throughout the years. And I mean, like, there's some days where you're like, why the fuck am I doing this? And then, the next day you come in and, like, I don't know, like I've had some great luck on clutches, and I've had some horrible luck. And but at the end of the day, it kind of all averages out, and, you just got to stick with it and kind of, not let it get to you, and kind of keep plugging along, right? Like, there's been, like I said, I mean, in 20 some odd years, I've probably had numerous episodes that I don't even remember, where I'm like, oh, fuck,
Yep.
And it happens. But then, there's other days where you walk in and you've hit everything you want to hit in a clutch, and better.
Did you see my recent pinstripe clown clutch?
I think so.
So, little backstory to that. I've been trying to make pinstripe clowns for 3 years. I had a few breeder females that were like posset clown that I tried a couple times, and this and that. And I finally had a female that I was fairly confident was het clown, like came from a good friend of mine, but that person ended up getting out of the hobby. So I had no, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I had reason to believe it was het, but there was always that chance. So I got 7 eggs from this female, and she was a smaller female. She took like 6 years to get to size, and gave me 7 eggs. 1 went bad, and I was positive that like I was just gonna get crushed. And the clutch was out of the egg, and I had 6 animals. They were all pinstripe. 5 of them were clowns. I didn't hit a single gene pinstripe clown though. Every animal is a 3 gene pinstripe clown combo or higher.
Well,
and the het is a 4 gene het female.
And that's what happens. It's all a roll of the dice.
It was the craziest thing that's ever happened to me in terms of like the like genetic lottery of ball pythons. And for something that I've been waiting for this long, like I couldn't be happier. All of a sudden I'm rolling in fucking pin clown combos. It's great.
Well, no, and I mean that, you know, like I said, it's good and bad, right? So,
yep.
You know, I've had bad days, man. You know, where I've like, but then, you know, you just keep on, like the next day will get better, right? So it's like, it's not always going to be rosy. And, you know, and what I like to do actually is I like to kind of play around. It's like, I'll take a couple males and I'll breed them to a female where I know, you know, depending on the outcome, I'll know who that is. Yep. And I roll the dice where I hit 2 birds with 1 stone. And I've done that, I can't tell you how many times.
And you know what? That's really lucky because I've tried to do the same thing and I've gotten totally wiped. You know what I mean? Like, it's.
Well, I've had lots of clutches, man, where, you know, I got 1 female in particular that I like to breed to both males. And so I'm like, well, fuck, you know, which one should I, you know, and then like I'll put one in for a bit, the old breeder, and then I'm like, I'm going to throw that other one in. You know, and I bet you, I don't know, man, I probably have 20 or 30 clutches over the years where I've hit both, you know, like, you know, the eggs started hatching and I got, you know, half the clutches from one dad and the other half is from the other dad. And then I've got, like, I've literally saved myself a year, you know, I've got both now and they're het pied or het clown or whatever, right? So I like playing that game. Sometimes it's fun, right? Because you never know what's going to happen.
But that's the game. That's one of the reasons people love this so much. It's just, it's so cool, and there's so many ways you can go about this, right? If you're willing to take the risks, sometimes it's so worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I got a clutch in the incubator right now where I bred Ultramel Clown and Ultramel Pied to a pastel vanilla pied.
Oh my God, wow.
So I'm hoping I get both because I already have a triple head Ultramel Clown Pied clutch out from a pastel leopard clown pied to an Ultramel.
Mm-hmm.
So now, you know, if I hit half and half, I'll get some, you know, pied head ultras and then some more triple heads. Well,
yeah.
Bonus. Saves me another breeding, right? So,
that's amazing. Honestly, I think the ultra pied stuff is going to be huge moving forward. I don't know if you saw, but Billy and I have the hypo ultra pied male from Dean.
Oh, they're awesome. I mean, they're beautiful.
Unbelievable. Just gorgeous, right? But yeah, no, there's so much to fucking do there. But man, I can only pray that you hit both. That would be an amazing clutch for you and for everybody to witness. But we've actually, so we've now broken an hour and a half. I have one more question for you, Dan. I'm going to save the rest for the next time. Just because I need to eat dinner.
No problem. I understand. Well, and we got off to a late start as well.
Yeah, we sure did. But that, you know what? That's okay. Yeah. We've had a good audience sticking around. We've been well over 20 people this whole time. Plus, we'll have, you know, the people that watch this after the fact. But my last question is my favorite question to ask all my guests. It's a bit of a doozy, so feel free to take your time with it. If you could remove one gene from the entire hobby, and when I say that, I mean any animals that have it, it's suddenly gone from. So say you pick Enchi and somebody has a single gene Enchi, it's now a normal. Or they have an Enchi clown, it's now just a normal clown. What would that gene be? And there's a follow-up part to the question. Would that answer change if it was just limited to the snakes you own?
Well, maybe I have a two-part answer.
Okay.
But, number one, honestly, even though I kind of like some of the combos, I'm kind of done with Spider, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago, and I had kind of a big, this is like pre-Facebook, but we used to have Reptiles Canada.
Yep.
And got in a big debate with a guy, I'm not going to name his name, but I said, these fucking spiders are wobbly as shit, And he was like, man, you're a hater, you're this and that, you're just jealous. I'm like, bro, you got one spider, I got 5. I'm just being honest, right? There is other genes out there, like champagnes are a little wobbly, they're not as bad as spiders. But I had another gentleman many years ago where I said, these fucking champagnes are wobbling around. And he was like, no, you're on crack. And now it's, again, but I think, if I wanted one that I probably wouldn't work with or I wanted gone, I'd hate to say it. I've had them. I have some, I've made a bunch of pretty cool looking ones, but I think that would be my, my go-to to kind of make this appear. And then, I don't know, I have genetic stripe, and this is another one of those kind of, I spent a lot of money on a genetic stripe male, and that's one kind of project I probably lost my ass on. In terms of making money back. I kind of like them, and I have a lot of different combos, but I'm kind of, now I'm kind of reinvigorated because last year I made a genetic stripe clown male, and those things are awesome.
So you got me really excited because I thought you were going to tell me you want to get rid of genetic stripe. And I don't like genetic stripe. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of pattern, and anything that lessens pattern, I'm not totally huge on. Champagne, you know what? It has its uses. Not a huge fan. Genetic stripe has its uses. Not a big fan. Now, the genetic stripe clown, that's a different subject, and we'll talk about that later.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like it's got a caveat, right? I'll be honest with you. When I was going for the genetic stripe clown, and I have a lot of different genetic stripe female, all sorts of stuff, visuals. And I even said to Rory, I said, you know what? If I don't fucking hit one, I'm getting rid of all this G-stripe stuff. And it was my last clutch, literally the last egg. And I had 3 or 4 clutches last year of double head to double head, and various double head combo females. And I missed on the first 3, and it was literally the last egg of the last clutch, and I hit a male. And then I was like, oh, I'm glad I kind of kept those girls.
So how many eggs did you go through before that last animal was your...
Dude, I'm talking, and they were big clutches too. They were 8, 9 egg clutches, maybe close 35-ish.
Wow. And you hit it on the very last chance.
It was literally the last one to poke its head out. So there you go.
So that was my last question, but I have a quick follow-up question, and I don't want to get into a big debate about it, but where do you stand on the cutting versus no cutting thing?
I've done both, and I've learned from experience personally. I've lost animals, high-priced animals, because I cut. And now what I do is I wait for, 2 or 3 or whatever to pip on their own. And then what I do is then I'll cut. I try to wait till then, because I've cut, eggs where, they were close, and I've had, this is going back years, like 10, 12 years ago, when I first started breeding ball pythons. But, you're so excited. You want to see what's in there. And you're hoping you're going to hit the odds, and you're hoping you're going to hit this combo. And I think just with age and time, I've gotten to the point where, I just let it be, man. I just leave it alone. And once they actually start pipping, then I'll kind of like poke around on the rest.
You know what? I like that answer. And I think that is going to be where we leave off. Dan, thank you so much for going through all those motions of trying to make this work and sticking with us and at least, finding a solution so we could make this interview happen. This was amazing. This is great. I really think you need to get on to more of these, maybe not the video ones, but you have a.
I would hook my friggin' truck up to that cell phone tower and tear it down, because like you pay through the ass for this stuff, right? And it doesn't work, man. Like it's not like being in the city, right? That's the only negative about being out here. I love being out here, but I mean, dude, like, like I want to watch a movie on Netflix and it's just churning away.
and you know what, like, it is what it is. But realistically, I want to sort of come out that way one day soon. So hopefully, whether that's at an expo or what have you, we can hook up and make one of these, maybe hour-long video in person where we can do like a real interview where people can see your face. And, I would love that. I didn't get to talk about it too much or at all, actually, while we were talking, but like what you're making and what you're doing is one of the big inspirations behind what I do. I see what you're doing, and it's incredible. A lot of people aren't even thinking the way you're thinking. And I personally I love it. You know what I mean? Like it's really cool. And the path you're taking is very unique. And I personally appreciate it. So I want to thank you because you have inspired what we're doing to whatever degree, but it's something, right? So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of, like I said, I just kind of do my thing. I'm glad, people think it's cool or whatever. That's fine. And, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And, I've been doing it a long time, but I mean, every year there's something new or some other direction I want to go, or I see somebody else doing something, and it just never ends. And I'll be honest with you, like I've said to myself a few times, I'm like, when are people going to stop buying this stuff? Like in terms of like running a business, and I've had like a lot of my in-laws and even my wife, she's like, I don't see why these guys, like they don't understand it, right? And they're like, oh, I think it's just going to be a fad. Well, guess what? This is like 22, 23 years, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, So, I mean, I think it's here to stay, and I think it's only going to grow, more and more, and I mean, more opportunities for a lot of other people. And you don't need to be, have a warehouse full of snakes to enjoy it and, make some money on the side and, be able to pay for your hobby somewhat and grow it. And I mean, that's the way I did it, right? Like I did it little by little. And, like I said, I'm 50 years old. I'm basically semi-retired now.
Yeah. And the thing is, the thing is, Dan, too, like a lot of people, I think right now feel like they need to build quick and spend a lot of money and you know what I mean? Like build fast and be everything. And what you're saying is like, you don't need to do that. Do it at your own pace. No, and take your time.
Not doing it, don't be taking out loans and lines of credit, And that's how, I'll be honest with you, I've seen people do stuff like that, and for some people it's panned out, but I've seen a lot of people, they get into debt up to their eyeballs, and, the animals don't produce this year, and they don't have anything to sell, and now they have this, just take it slow, take it, pick and choose, bits and pieces of the puzzle, and eventually you'll get there,
And you know what? I don't think there's a better note to end on for this. Dan, thank you so much, man. Like, I know you went through a hell of a time getting on here, and I know we kind of had to go old school, but thank you so much, man. This has been so fun. I had a great time.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. And like I said, if you ever want to do it down the road, maybe I'll have to find I don't know. I'm looking into alternative internet options out here.
Well, I'll tell you what. I plan to come out that way sometime soon. So maybe you and I could just hook up and just do one of these in person. I think that might be the best bet, because I have a lot of people out there that I need to come meet. So
sounds good.
Awesome, man. Thank.
And I've come out a bunch of times, but it's been a few years. And like I said, I have a lot of friends and guys that I've I chat with them on Messenger all the time, like Foster and Matt Quinn and Matt Pistoni and guys like that. I've never met them in person, but I consider a lot of those guys friends and stuff. So.
You're just listing off some great Ontario names right now. Matt Pistone, awesome dude. Foster, Genetic Intuition, just killing it, just making some incredible stuff. Obviously, we've already ranted about Matt Quinn, man.
Michael
no, it's
Graham. I just got some animals from Michael.
Oh, Michael Graham is killing it too, man. Like, he's awesome.
And there's the old school guys too, like Mandic, and
for sure.
I've always been, he and I have always been friendly, and he's always been, a nice guy, and he makes some incredible animals, and he's another kind of old timer,
Yep.
And there's a whole bunch more that that are out there that, and Nicole, right? Like, same thing with Nicole. I bought some animals off her too. Like,
I can never say enough good things about Nicole. Nicole is one of my favorite people in this entire hobby, and I will rant about how much I love Nicole to the end of time. She's great.
So yeah, for sure. So I'd like to kind of meet everybody face to face one of these days. So I don't know. Maybe if I have time, I might even fly out for the CRB.
That would be amazing, man. Anyway, I'm going to let you go. I'm sure you have stuff to do, and I got to eat. It is quite late here now. So, Dan, thank you for the 100th time. Thank you. Really appreciate you coming on. And, I'll probably be messaging you sometime this weekend about those Kenyans.
I got some nice ones.
I don't doubt it, man. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Bye.
All right, man. Bye. Jesus, guys. Like, for the headache that was to get going, that was so fun. And I think if we're ever going to do a live, like, one-on-one in the same place Friday Night Live, I think that's the one to do. I respect Dan a whole shit ton. The guy's making some cool stuff. And, I couldn't be more excited that we found a way to make it work. And, if anybody's watching this back, even though it's at the end of the video, I'm just going to put a disclaimer on the video. This is probably an audio only, because you don't want to look at this the whole time alone. That was amazing. I am I'm in such a good mood. I was in such a shitty mood before now. And that's what I needed. So, you know what? I'm going to leave you with that for this weekend. That's what I needed. That reinvigorated me and my love for this. And, you know what? Just fucking have a good weekend, guys. If you're in Canada, a good long weekend. If you're not, I don't know if it's a long weekend, but what the fuck ever. Peace out, guys. Thank you for joining me. We're going to make it happen again soon. Oh, and next week, Mariah from My Kryptonite See you guys next Friday.